I certainly thought about the whole time I was reading this book, and I just wanted to say that there are some books that you read and some books that you need a snorkel and a mask for because you get into them and you can't get out of them, and this was a snorkel and mask book for me. So and I was so excited because the whole time I was reading it, I knew I'd get to meet her. Thank you. So tell me about the story and why this story.
Well, the story started, first of all, I've been writing historical novels for a while, some of them heavy duty, like Island Beneath the Sea, that took 4 years of research. I was fed up with studying and research, I remember. And I wanted to write something lighthearted. This is what came out. I don't know what happened. And I was at the time, I wrote it in 2010. And the translation took very long because my usual translator is 84 years old, and she said, I can't get the voice of a 19-year-old girl from Berkeley. And so we had to look for another translator. That took her a year to finish the job. Well, now it's a historical novel. But when I wrote it in 2010, all my grandchildren, and the story happens in 2009, so it was very contemporary in the past. And all my grandchildren and their friends were teenagers. So I was surrounded by these voices, you know, this energy of the teenagers, this testosterone and estrogen in the house and all that. And I thought, well, I will write about them, the things that they are interested in. And I have written for young adults before, and I thought it would be an easy task. And really, it was not difficult, because I had their voice, you know, that I knew what they were interested in, what they were doing. And that's how the book came around.
The addiction part.
The addiction part.
Yes.
Well, that's sort of sad, because people have asked me, how did you research? Well, the story of this girl, Maya, in the book, she has no parents to speak of. She's raised by her grandparents. And the grandparents are an African-American astronomer from Berkeley, a professor. A bear of a man, huge, lovely, who adores her unconditionally. And a grandmother who is a Chilean immigrant, just like me, short and mean. But she also adores the girl, and just as she will slap her around, she will give her life to save her when the time comes. And then the grandfather dies, I think around page 45, very soon he dies.
But the story goes back and forth.
Yeah, well, but in any case, the grandfather, who is the pillar in the life of this girl, dies. And then the grandmother, who adores him, falls in a depression. And the girl feels abandoned, gets in touch with wrong friends, starts shoplifting, alcohol, drugs, doing stupid stuff. Eventually she runs away from home and ends up in Las Vegas with a gang of criminals and drug dealers. And her job is to distribute drugs in hotels, in luxury hotels. So she starts falling deeper and deeper into this hell of addiction until she ends up very ill and homeless. And of course, because she gets involved in a federal crime without even knowing what she's doing, she's persecuted by the FBI, the CIA, the police, the gangsters, the drug dealers. Everybody's after her. And so that part about the addiction, I didn't have to research it, because unfortunately it runs in my husband's kids. My stepchildren, I have 3 stepchildren, the 3 addicted, so I have seen this very close in our family. I've seen the horrible, horrible damage that it does to the person and to everybody around that person. My oldest stepson hasn't had a life really. He's almost 50 years old. He spent half of his life in captivity, because in this country, addiction is penalized. It's a criminal problem instead of being a public health problem, as it should. So instead of rehabilitation, you have jail. And the other 2 have died. Jennifer died at 28, and Harley died at 35 4 weeks ago. So my family is grieving at this point. Of course, when I wrote the book, Harley was doing well. We thought that he was rehabilitated, he was in recovery, he was doing great, we thought. And then he overdosed, and we got a phone call. And it was horrible, just a horrible situation. So it's a terrible coincidence that the book comes out right after this thing happened with Harley. I don't know, my daughter-in-law Laurie says, please don't write about me because it will happen to me. So she's terrified that she will end up in a book.
I can appreciate that. And this doesn't really have anything to do with the book.